Welcome to Patel's Workshop. My name is Jim Gary, and today I'm going to do a video that describes the removal of the front coil springs of my 25-year-old Workhorse P32 chassis based motorhome. First, a disclaimer, I'm not a professional mechanic, I'm a biologist, but this is a hobby of mine. If you are attempting a similar project, I suggest you consult a professional mechanic about it. So I've been restoring this motorhome for a number of months, and I've accumulated a lot of videos about the rear suspension. I've replaced all the parts that I wanted to in the rear suspension in those videos, and now I'm moving to the front suspension. And in this video, I'm specifically going to remove the front coil spring. So I'll be showing you the right front coil spring removal. And it's kind of a complicated process. I had already removed the brake, rotors, and hubs, and that'll be in another video. And then I had to separate the ball joint of the upper control arm. I had to remove the shock absorber. I had to remove the anti-sway bar. And finally, I had to separate the lower A-arm ball joint. That's all described in this video. And then at the very end, of course, when you separate the ball joint, you have to support the A-arm on a jack. And then at the very end, I very slowly and carefully lowered the jack to release the coil spring, and it came out really nicely. So in a future video, I'll show you how I put my new coil spring and all the other parts back together again. But for this one, it's just going to be how I remove the coil spring. So I'll see you after the video. I'm getting ready to remove this tie rod here, this upper control arm. So first thing I want to do is just clean all the grease off. And there's a lot of grease. This is just overflow from people squirting grease in. I just want to get it cleaned up before I start. There's some degreaser on there. All right, it's starting to look like something recognizable. So we've got a nut here with a cotter pin I have to take out, and then the ball joint comes up through here, and there's a grease fitting on top I got to be aware of. And this rubber thing here, this black thing where my finger is the seal. I'll go ahead and get that taken care of. Tools I need. There's a cotter pin. I'm not going to save it because I always put in new ones. This is kind of fun. This is exciting getting to this point finally. So there's the nut. It's 15/16. I got this set in reverse. So I get this off. Oh, it came right off. Now you can use pickle forks and stuff to go in between here, but that has the chance of wrecking the bushing. And since this RV is old, but it's only got 22,000 miles on it, I don't really want to put in new ball joints if I don't have to. So I'm just going to try tapping this up. I'll try a few other things and see what works. There it goes. Came loose nice and easy. That's when things work. There it is. I'm not going to adjust it. These adjusting nuts are how you adjust the alignment. I just want this to get loose so I can get at the spring back here. I got to get that spring out, so all these have to come off first. I'm looking at the ball joints before I get into this, and I notice that the upper one is fine. It's not supposed to spin, and it doesn't spin. It feels great. The boot is fine. There's no problems with it that I could see, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I've got to take out is there's a ball joint in here. This is the lower A-frame. I'm just going to clean it up now. There's the grease fitting on the bottom. I'm going to have to jack this up. So when I jack it up, I just got to make sure I put the jack over here and not on top of that grease fitting. Boy, they really put that cotter pin in a hard to get at place. There it comes. Again, I'm going to replace the cotter pin, so I don't care if I wreck this one getting it out. There it goes. Cotter pin's out. Here's the nut we're taking off. So it's an inch and an eighth socket, and I can't get my wrench in there, my impact wrench, so I've got to do it with this. So what I've done is I've put it on a torque wrench, and I've got a pipe if I need to. Guess it's just going to have to go all the way over until I get it loose. There, broke it loose. I just had to put a pipe. You couldn't see it, but I got a pipe that I put over the end of the torque wrench handle so it wouldn't strain too much. Okay, get that off. And when it finally gives, I don't want it to go flying all the way off, so I'm going to turn this upside down, the castellations down, and put this mostly on. There. Now the next thing I have to take loose is going to be down here, and that's this sway arm. I'm going to replace the whole sway arm, but for now I've got to just disconnect it. It looks like the bolt went under from the underside, so the nut's on this side here, and it goes the other way on the other side. So I've already loosened them up, and so I can just reach behind and take off the nuts. So it's just a nut. There's no washer under there in this case. There's the other nut, and the bolts have kind of cap heads on them, so they've got kind of a built-on washer. There. So now the sway arm can just sit there. I'm actually going to replace the entire sway arm later in this series anyway, but that's loose now. And I've got a jack under here, and I'm going to loosen up that jack because I'm going to get ready to try to remove separate the lower arm ball joint. So just behind the hub is the shock absorber. Again, we're at the front, remember. So this is a Monroe shock. It's pretty old, all rusty. And look at the bottom here. It's kind of crooked. It doesn't fit in the bracket at the angle the bracket's set up for. I don't understand that, but I've run into that with the rear sway bars bushings too. They just fit kind of awkwardly. I guess it's just poor management there, but poor construction. But anyway, I'm going to undo this bolt. They're 3/4 inch. So these have to come out to get the A-frame down, the lower A-frame down, A-arm down, but also I'm going to put new shocks in anyway. So I'll put the camera pointing down a little more. There, so you can see the bottom end of where I'm working. I did it. Loose. Having trouble controlling it. My left hand there. There, it's out. Washer on each side and a nut. She's loose. So now I just have to move the camera up so we can see the top. There you go. So this is the next one I've got to take out. It's a stud, so I don't have to worry about the nut on the other side because there isn't one. So there's the 1 inch. And again, trying not to block it. I don't know if it's possible. There, try it like that. Oh, it's not a stud. I thought it was a stud. There's a nut on the back. Haha. Boy, that's a tough one to get to. Right by the brake lines. So to get it out, I've got to get 15/16 socket on a short extension so I can hold it. Through the magic of editing, so it looks smooth. So here's the ratchet to hold the socket to hold the back. Here's the thing on the front. Let's see what happens. There we go. It's one massive bolt. Washer. There's the nut. Okie doke. Well, that's pretty good progress. We've got the shock out. I'm curious, when I replaced the back shocks, they were just shot. So let's see what kind of state these shocks are in. I'm going to expand them out. Good resistance expanding them out. They're all the way out. But now, see, they just squeeze right back together again. Really easy. So that means they are shot, just like the back ones were. But given they're probably 25 years old, I can't complain. So there's different ways to remove a lower arm ball joint. Just do the separation, and the forks and all that can hurt or damage the the seal, and the rubber seals down here. And again, these ball joints, they've been on there for 23 years, but the vehicle only has 22,000 miles. So I don't really feel like I should have to replace the ball joints. And the seals, they look pretty good. I don't see any problem with them. If you use a pickle fork, it can do damage. So the simplest way to do it is just to whack them. And I've done this in the past, back in the day. I haven't done it in a long time. Here's the nut. There's the bolt. I got the nut on partially on, so it's loose. So if I hit this hard enough right here, the hammer, it should shock the taper in there loose. So then this A-arm can fall down, at least as far as the nut will let it fall. So that would be about a ½ inch or so. So we're going to try that first. If that doesn't work, then I'll go to more drastic means. But let's just see what happens. Not much room in here. There it goes, just like that. What I'm going to have to do now is move the jack. It's holding up this upper part here, so I've got to let it down and put it under here. And then I can remove this nut, and then I can let the A-arm drop, and then hopefully get the coil spring out. So here's the nut. Take that off. It's twisting. Huh. Wasn't expecting that. I know it's just not even hand tight on there. It's just barely tight. So I think I can just grab this with these pliers. Huh? Man, I guess when it came down, it really came down. Well, I'll try jacking it back all the way up. I'll figure it out. it will come off one way or the other. Ah, I see how I can do it. I can get this in the hole. Yeah, I'll get something better to put in there. But I think I'm on the right track. I've got a little thicker of a screwdriver, but there it goes. Okay, now she's going. No, it's spinning. Okay. It's coming. Okay, there we go. Ah, finally. So the next thing is to lower it gently and not be in the way in case the spring decides to go flying. I don't think it's going to do, but you never know. So let's see what happens. Yeah, the spring's pushing it down nicely. There it goes. The spring is out. Ha! You can see the remnants of the old air spring inside. So my new spring is stronger than the original spring, so it won't need that air spring inside. And that air spring inside obviously has been damaged for at least 20 years, I guess. Oh, there's the pieces of it. So you can see all the crap in here. That's just the pieces of the old air spring that was inside there. It was just a hack that the company did. So there's the place. So the important thing is this end here. This is where the flat part of the bottom part of the spring has to sit right there and go around. And I'll clean this all out, and I'm going to spray it with some cold galvanizing spray when I've got it all cleaned up. But I'll do that off camera. But the main thing I'm excited about is we have the spring. Well, it's time to wrap up this video. As you saw, I went through a long, involved process to remove the coil, front coil spring. And it was kind of fun to do. I've done it before, but not on such a big cars. As I usually work on smaller British sports cars. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again. Also, look in the description below to see the related videos that I've done, primarily of the rear suspension, but other aspects of my motorhome renovation. Bye.